Welcome to Session 2 of GED Social Studies. Last time, we covered the ideas behind American democracy. Today, we see how those ideas became a real, working government, the United States Constitution. By the end, you will know why the country's first government fell short, how the framers compromised to fix it, and what the preamble, the 7 articles, and ratification each did. After independence, the country ran on its first constitution, the Articles of Confederation, and it had a fatal flaw. The national government was far too weak. Congress could not tax people directly, and it could not regulate trade between the states. There was no president to lead, and no national courts to settle disputes. Then, in 1786, Shays' Rebellion, a farmers' uprising over debt, nearly toppled the Massachusetts government. That was the wake-up call. The government was too weak to pay its debts or keep order, and leaders agreed it was time for a change. So, in May of 1787, 55 delegates gathered in Philadelphia for what we now call the Constitutional Convention. George Washington presided, which gave the meeting huge credibility. And James Madison took such detailed notes and proposed so many key ideas that we call him the father of the Constitution. Their boldest move? They decided not to patch up the articles at all. They scrapped them and wrote a completely new document, aiming for a government strong enough to work, but limited enough to stay safe. Now, 2 big arguments almost broke up the whole convention. The first was about representation. Large states in the Virginia Plan wanted seats based on population. Small states in the New Jersey Plan wanted every state to get equal representation. The Great Compromise, also called the Connecticut Compromise, gave both sides a win. Make Congress 2 chambers. The Senate gives every state 2 seats, equal representation. The House gives seats by population. And that 2-chamber design is still exactly how Congress works today. The second great argument was about slavery, and it is a dark chapter. The question was whether enslaved people should be counted in a state's population. Southern states wanted enslaved people counted for representation, so they would get more seats in the House. Northern states disagreed. The so-called compromise was to count each enslaved person as 3/5 of one person, for both representation and taxation. It was a grim bargain that handed slaveholding states extra power in the House for decades. Now the document itself. It opens with the preamble, the famous words, "We the people of the United States." This is the introduction that states the government's purpose. It lists 6 goals for the government. Things like establishing justice, providing for the common defense, and securing the blessings of liberty. And notice those first 3 words, "We the people." That is popular sovereignty announced right at the start. But here is a classic test point. The preamble itself grants no legal powers. It only states purpose. The actual powers come later, in the articles. The body of the Constitution is organized into 7 articles. The first 3 set up the 3 branches. Article 1 is the legislative branch, Congress. Article 2 is the executive, the President. And Article 3 is the judicial branch. Article 4 covers relations among the states. Article 5 explains how to amend the Constitution. And Article 7 sets ratification, needing 9 of 13 states. And Article 6 is the one to remember, the Supremacy Clause. It says the Constitution and federal law are the supreme law of the land. So when a state law conflicts with federal law wins. One last hurdle. The Constitution needed 9 of 13 states to approve it, and the country split into 2 camps. The Federalists were for it, Madison, Hamilton, and Jay. They wrote the Federalist Papers, 85 essays defending the Constitution. The Anti-Federalists were against it. People like Patrick Henry and George Mason feared the new national government was too strong, and they demanded a Bill of Rights to protect individual freedoms. The promise to add a Bill of Rights is what won over enough states. The Constitution was ratified in 1788 and took effect in 1789. Let's test it. The Great Compromise settled the clash between large and small states. Which statement correctly describes the solution? Pause and choose A, B, C, or D. The answer is A. The Senate gives every state equal representation, 2 seats each, while the House gives seats based on population. That two-chamber structure, equal in the Senate by population in the House, is the bicameral Congress we still use. Big picture, the Great Compromise is why we have both a Senate and a House. Let's recap Session 2. The Articles of Confederation were too weak, so in 1787, the convention scrapped them and wrote the Constitution. The Great Compromise created our two-chamber Congress, with an equal Senate and a population-based House. The preamble states the purpose, the 7 articles build the government, and Article 6, the Supremacy Clause, means federal law wins over conflicting state law.